And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another exciting Australian Indian Radio's daily Facebook Live updates. And hey, today, once again, we have wonderful news and lots of things to cover and lots to get through. I hope your Tuesday has been wonderful so far. Hey, it's always so good to see you. It's great that you can, be with me here for this next half an hour. It's a wonderful show today, once again, and we'll look at some of the things. First of all, have a breaking news and India Day Fair 2020, the gala dinner, 15th of August, as announced as the date, Kleina, 6 p.m. to 12 p.m. at Brisbane City Hall, the main auditorium. This is going to be our 10th anniversary Gopia Queensland's India Day Gala Dinner. Limited seatings will be available because of COVID-19. Booking online will be made available later today. For general inquiries, contact President Rakesh Sharma 0411289202. For sponsorship opportunities, speak to Mrs. Usha Chandra 0419775416. And if you are a performer or if you like to have a stall, please do contact me 0421388465. So that's a little bit of a good news on breaking news today. Now the next breaking news might not be that good for some. So as we know that Lawrence Springbok has been removed from the LNP executive team. So that comes as a big surprise to many people. So what's been happening there and why did this happen? Let's find out a little bit about that. So former LNP state leader Lawrence Springbok has been removed from Labour Party's executive. Mr. Springbok, who is also the Goondiwindi mayor, has been one of the three party trustees. He has been a long-serving state MP and LNP parliamentary leader and played a leading role in creating the LNP party measure. In a statement, Mr. Springbok said, "Since I have retired from state parliament, I have refrained from engaging in public commentary on party political matters. It was great privilege to represent the interest of LNP members as a party trustee. The appointment of three party trustees is a matter of the party's state executives." Now, this is interesting. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk said removal of Mr. Springbok from LNP's executive was a big loss for the party. "I think Lawrence contributed a lot over the years and of course he must be feeling very disappointed and I think it's a loss to the LNP," Ms. Palaszczuk said. Queensland opposition leader Deb Frecklington said the dumping of Mr. Springbok from the party position was an internal party matter. "I don't comment and I have never and I won't comment on this matter," she said. "But this is what I will say," she said, that Lawrence Springbok has made an incredible contribution and he will continue to make an incredible contribution and she is looking forward to talking with him on a regular basis as he has always done. Now, some of the party people suspected the move was also related to the internal criticism of the party's organization wing, leaking against Ms. Frecklington last month. So, who knows that these things do happen behind closed doors. Many things happen and they often talk about the faceless men and other things. But that's the news. Lawrence Springbok is not on one of the trustees and is not on the executive team of LNP anymore. He still remains the mayor of Goondiwindi. So that's the breaking news for this morning. Right now, let's move on and look at some other news that is really critically at this point in time. So first off, as we know that the JobKeeper and JobSeeker, there's been lots of talks about that. But just before that, we will briefly touch on the coronavirus cases before, we move on to the rest of the things. And not forgetting the weather for today. The weather for rest of Tuesday is going to be maximum of 21, partly cloudy, and a 10% chance of rain, a slight chance of shower, maybe in the suburbs in the evening, and some of the areas will get to near zero chance elsewhere. sun protection is recommended from now till 1:40. UV prediction is going to be around 4. So it is recommended that you are protected. Now, coronavirus cases, Queensland confirmed cases 1,072 with 1,061 recoveries and 6 deaths. Australia 12,069 confirmed cases and the deaths at 123. Worldwide, confirmed cases 14.6 million and 8.2 million recoveries and death at 608 K. So that's these days of this news now. Next leads on to that, and right after the COVID-19 cases, we will look at what's going to happen, what's been predicted for JobKeeper and JobSeeker. We've been told that it will stay, or it might stay for longer, which is a good news for everyone concerned, but the format might change a little bit. As we have seen, there have been less incentive for people to actually go to work. So, those loopholes may be covered. Full coverage will be provided by Thursday. But for now, let's take a look, courtesy of Channel 9.
Just overnight, new suburbs in Sydney on high alert after being exposed to a confirmed case. These include Baulkham Hills Football Club, Big W at Carnes Hill, Cabramatta Plaza, Carlingford Court and a church in Harris Park. And that's where Gabrielle Boyle is this morning at the Lady of Lebanon Parish. Gabby, good morning to you. Worshippers have tested positive, 3 of them.
That's correct, Carl. As you said, 3 worshippers testing positive over the past 24 hours, and that is the reason that Our Lady of Lebanon will become a pop-up testing station later on this morning. Anyone that has attended this church in the past few days is urged to come and get tested. Specifically, we're talking about parishioners that visited on the 15th, the 16th and the 17th. So that's last Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Each day they had a mass, but on Friday they also had a funeral. So we're talking about hundreds of people that visited here over those 3 days. It's expected to be very, very busy this morning, Carl. And the message is to anybody that attended on those 3 days, you need to go home and self-isolate for 14 days, even if you do test negative. It's going to be a very busy morning here.
Big worry too, Gabby. Thank you.
A major announcement is on the way for struggling Australians today, with the government expected to extend JobKeeper and JobSeeker payments. Federal Politics reporter Kerry Yaxley is following developments. Kerry, good morning. How long will these schemes continue for?
Yeah, good morning, Alex. Well, they will continue in their current form until the end of September. They will then be extended from October until March, but the payments will be lower. Treasury found that the current higher payments in some cases were acting as a disincentive for people to work more. A quarter, in fact, of the 3.5 million workers on the JobKeeper scheme essentially got a pay rise when it came into effect. Some industries have reported to Treasury, while it's been undergoing its review of the program, that some workers had been reluctant to pick up extra shifts or work more as businesses came back to life. The $1,500 a fortnight payment will be replaced with 2 tiers of payments to reflect better how much people were earning before the coronavirus crisis. As for JobSeeker, it was boosted by a $550 a fortnight coronavirus supplement. It is unlikely to go back to its pre-COVID rate, at least for the next 6 months. The Treasurer and the Prime Minister will announce what the rates of both payments will be a little later today. On Thursday, we will get an update on the economy and the budget, Alex.
Thanks, Kerry.
South Australian authorities are cracking down on...
So that's the breaking news for today, and we will look at that in great detail a little bit later on. But right now, let's hear from our Premier on the affairs right here.
What we are trying here is to, how do we keep these border communities together? And of course, it's New South Wales residents that are impacted as well. And there has been suggestions about moving that down to the Tweed River. Look, I think in the spirit of cooperation, it would be good if the New South Wales government could now we're in July, give due consideration. It would make it much easier operationally. It would keep those 2 communities together. And of course, they will remain New South Wales residents. It is just about making that flow of communities easier. We'll put that detailed submission down to the New South Wales government today. And look, we'll just see. It would ease pressure, especially those border communities. I'm just trying to make it easier for people, but of course, you know, if the New South Wales government is against it, they're against it. I hope they give it consideration.
So as the Premier said, he's trying to make it easy for everyone, but it doesn't always happen and doesn't always work out in that way. So there have been many people crossing the borders illegally as well, and a lot of cases have been spreading. So, you know, it is still a bit of a nervous situation out there with not knowing when the second wave might even happen, you know. So there are talks already, and people have started taking a little bit of precautionary measures. But some obviously don't, and they just, you know, without any regard for others' safety, they break all these rules. Here's our Prime Minister.
There will be many businesses who, from when we first put JobKeeper in place, that they have been able to improve their conditions and they've been able to lift their turnover. And that is fantastic news, and that is welcome, and we want them to have continued success. But there are other parts of the economy, and here Displaywise is no different, for whom their turnover will continue to be down because of the COVID-19 pandemic and because of the restrictions that are put in place on the economy. And they will need continued support, and they will get continued support. And many businesses like them as we work through those changes as we announce them this week. What the Treasurer and I will announce this week won't commence the day after we announce it. It will be several months from now. So there will be several months for businesses to adjust to the next phase. But the supports that have been in place since April will be in place until September, and then we'll move into a new phase. But I can assure you that businesses like the one we're standing in here today and the employees that depend on that business will be continuing to get support.
So there you are, that the JobKeeper and JobSeeker will stay, but in a different format. As I said, the full announcement will be made public by Thursday, but at least it's encouraging to see that it will be there in some way or form. What that might be, as I said, we will look at before. And now, moving on to New South Wales, new cases have been reported there. Let's see what the Premier has to say about those cases in New South Wales.
We've had 20 new cases overnight. The one positive to take out of those 20 cases is every single one of those is from a known source. Whilst I remain incredibly concerned, that is one positive takeout, that all the cases now are from known sources, which means that people are taking advice, and we need them to continue to do that. Please make sure, if you've been told to isolate at home, that you spend 14 days at home.
And as the Premier said, that 14 days of self-isolation, and once again, people, whether they do that or not, and how well do they monitor that and police that is another matter, as we know. In Victoria, I mean, everything else happening. People have been partying. So, you know, what did Premier Daniel Andrews have to say on all these parties springing up in Victoria?
This is no time for parties. This is very serious, and we send our love, our thoughts, our prayers and best wishes to the family of the woman in her 80s who passed away since we were last on this podium. I can't say that there won't be further deaths. I think that if people just think about that for a moment, there are many families across our state who are dealing with the fact that a loved one is in hospital, that are dealing with the fact that a loved one is needing a machine to help them breathe. There are many families across Melbourne that are planning funerals at the moment. We have an enormous body of evidence across the world that show people who are otherwise healthy, people from all age groups, that have died because of this global pandemic. Many people who get COVID-19, they get well, but well in the context of a chronic condition that lingers for some time, not the notion of a common cold where you would be well only a few days later.
No, he can't be more clearer than that. So, you know, he's made it very, very clear. Look, whatever he's doing, he's trying the best. And what about trying to give him a chance and trying to cooperate for once? So when we talk about cooperation and other things, we also look at the law enforcement. and law enforcement. I'm talking about QPS or the police service in general, the work that they do. So, often criticized for the amount of force or the pressure that they use, the tactics that's been used. But of course, we must realize that the job at hand is not an easy job as well. So they have to keep in balance of trying to protect the general public, maintain and uphold the law, but also not offend people or anyone in that case, and also be very careful in how and what they do, because as we know these days, you can't do anything without being seen or noticed. Cameras are everywhere. People have their handy phones ready. The phone, all the phones are cameras, and so you are covered. Any action that you take will be recorded and will be seen. So, how do we strike that balance? That is a very, very hard point. So let's look at this footage.
It's an issue that's been plaguing towns and communities across the state. Now keeping dangerous young criminals behind bars is going to be a lot easier. An amendment to the Youth Justice Act passed last month started today. If a child is deemed too dangerous to the community, the court must deny bail. Police can also appeal bail decisions. The Minister for Child Safety says it's a significant change aimed squarely at repeat and prolific young offenders. It's part of the state government's 5-point plan to tackle youth crime.
And there's some very good signs early that dealing with this small cohort of children, but incredibly difficult cohort of children, it's actually working.
But others have scrutinised the amendment, saying it's a band-aid solution that could make the situation worse.
It makes them more hardened and more professional in their criminality. The third factor is it makes them more alienated from society. They now belong to a criminal class.
Bob Catter says jail won't be enough to deter dangerous young criminals.
So when he gets out, whether it's in 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, when he gets out, he will be at it again and again and again and again.
Laura Lavelle, 7 News.
And as Bob Catter there says that, as soon as they're out, they will be at it again and again. So how do they find the perfect balance? What's the correct way of dealing with those ones as well? Of course, everyone has their own opinions, and everyone will think slightly differently. But as I said, that QPS has got a very difficult job at hand in cases like that, because you have to look at the age of the person as well. Communities you have to be taken into account as well. But the law needs to be upheld and obeyed as well. So that's a big balancing act for them there. Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now let's take a commercial break.
ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी 1989 से लेकर अब तक का विश्वसनीय और माननीय ब्रिस्बेन का रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। उषा चंद्रा, जो कि ग्लोबनेट की डायरेक्टर है, अपने ग्राहकों को ईमानदार और एथिक सर्विसेज देती हैं। अगर आप ब्रिस्बेन की प्रॉपर्टी में पूंजी लगाना चाहते हैं और आप चाहते हैं कि आपकी प्रॉपर्टी को प्रोफेशनली मैनेज किया जाए, तो आप आज ही कांटेक्ट कीजिए उषा चंद्रा को। लैंडलाइन नंबर है 38654466 और मोबाइल नंबर है 0419775416। और आप प्रॉपर्टी की अधिक जानकारी और करंट अपडेट्स के लिए हमारी वेबसाइट पे लॉगिन कर सकते हैं। हमारी वेबसाइट है www.globenetreality.com.au। ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी आपका अपना लोकल रियल एस्टेट एजेंट है। हमारा पता है ग्लोबनेट रियलिटी, शॉप नंबर 5, 2281 Sandgate Road, Bundall, Queensland. GlobeNet Reality. Real estate is our world.
And it definitely is the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to remind you that 15th of August, the planned date for India Day Fair Gala Dinner this year. Mark your diaries. More details I'll bring to you towards the end of the show today as well, with those booking details. And it will be a welcome change for a lot of people being able to get out and about once again, of course, with all the precautionary measures being taken and with all the health conditions taken into account as well. Well, right now, time for news in brief. Fire rips through the federal backpackers. Emergency services say that the fire broke out at the adjacent Spotted Dog Park before spreading to the backpackers. So let's take a look at that. So backpackers going up in flames. Vincent Ryan, as we know about the convicted pedophile, is released from Sydney prison. The convicted pedophile was granted parole last week after serving less than half of a 3-year sentence for the historic sexual abuse. Once again, in cases like this, everyone has got differing opinions, and some people are calling for harsher punishments for these people, and some people also take into account the humanitarian aspect. So this is when he's being released. So as I mentioned before, that everyone has got differing opinions on the how long should they serve and when should they be paroled. Well, next news is about Olsen Filipaina, a trailblazer for Polynesian rugby league players in Australia. So back in the 1980s, Olsen Filipaina was a trailblazer for the Polynesian players in rugby league. He debuted in the Balmain Tigers and went to play more than 100 first grade games, all while working as a garbage collector. A wonderful story. Have a listen.
They called me the Galloping Garber because back in the 1980s when I first started, you had to run up behind the trucks and grab the bins from the curbside, and people around Ryde used to come out and say hi to me, and I used to empty their bins and wait with all the kids and everything else, so that's why they called me the Galloping Garbo. I became a Garbo in 1980 because I had to supplement my other wage because I wasn't getting paid enough from rugby league. Plus when I arrived from New Zealand to Australia, I was 25 stone and had to lose some weight. Yeah, I've been doing this for nearly 40 plus years now. I never regretted it. I get out of bed about 2, leave about 2:30 in the morning, there's no traffic. By the time I'm finished, I'm working against the traffic. It's the best thing ever. I forgot what year it was, the reporters asking me because they didn't know what Polynesians were, and I said to one of the reporters, I said, in a couple of years you'll know exactly what, and everyone want to know what a Polynesian is, and now they do.
That's a very moving story there. So, it's wonderful to see that, they are being recognized and kept in the news as well. The next news is about the JobKeeper. We have covered in the breaking news segment there as well. But here's a little bit of an update about that. In the past month, millions of Australians have received extra government support through the $1,500 a fortnight JobKeeper wage subsidy. But Morrison government will reveal the future of these payments on Wednesday in full, but here's a bit of a report.
Andrew, the government always said both payments were temporary. The big question everybody wants the answer to is, will they end on September the 27th?
Well, Lee, both payments will live on for a few more months, albeit at a reduced level and with some changes. The government had wanted to wean the economy off support quickly, but the Victorian outbreak and obviously concerns that New South Wales might follow has changed that thinking. Recovery is now going to be much slower, so JobKeeper is going to continue beyond September, but at a lower level, tapered down over time, I understand. But that's not the only change ahead. There'll be 2 payment tiers for JobKeeper. those who were working under 20 hours a week will get a reduced payment. This is to stop some JobKeeper recipients getting a windfall for such as part-time casual workers. And about a quarter of the 3.6 million people who've been on JobKeeper were receiving more through the payment that they earned pre-pandemic, on average about $130 more a fortnight, I understand. The government doesn't want JobKeeper, obviously, to be a disincentive to work. It's going to make that change. As for the coronavirus fortnightly supplement of $550, that's also going to be extended beyond September, which is good news for those who can't find work, but also for those who've been receiving it through because they get Austudy, widow allowance or youth allowance. Once again, though, this supplement will be reduced over time.
The Morrison government has a big economic statement coming on Thursday. Why wouldn't they wait until then to announce this? And then broadly, what is going to be in that statement?
Well, Thursday is going to be a statement in a sea of red, huge amounts of debt for years to come. So much so, in fact, you've got to wonder if any...
A story of a lot of interest, so we'll keep following that and bring the full details as they come to hand, but most probably by Thursday. Now, Dr. Nick Coatsworth says that New South Wales and Victoria has no community transmission, so that's news. And he says that it's all been of known cases and that have been passed on.
Dr. Coatsworth, thanks very much for being with us. If we can start with masks, why shouldn't New South Wales give itself every chance of avoiding where Victoria's gotten to and mandate mask wearing in highly populated areas and hotspots right now?
So, Lee, that is a question that we're getting a lot at the moment, and it's got two elements to the response. The first one is we want Australians to be absolutely clear that their primary mechanism of defence against COVID-19 is distance, physical distance, getting themselves tested when they're unwell and supporting our contact tracers. The second thing is that mandating mask use, it sounds like a very easy and straightforward policy to implement, but if you mandate something, you have to enforce it. You have to give people fines. You have to ensure that the supply of masks is adequate. And for those reasons, we're encouraging mask use in New South Wales at the moment on public transport where you can't socially distance, where the community transmission is increasing.
The situation in Victoria has renewed the elimination versus the suppression debate. You have people at the elimination end going, oh, well, that's what they did in New Zealand and life there's basically back to normal, that's what we should do. What's your take on that?
Well, the elimination versus suppression debate is ongoing. The aggressive suppression policy that we have advocated for has led to 6 out of the 8 states and territories being in a state of virtual elimination. But I think we should change the wording now to no community transmission. This is the situation in 6 out of the 8.
So the situation still remains quite confusing. People not knowing, are we easing? Are the restrictions being eased? Should we go back to, doing things that we were doing? Do we still take precautions? Or, how is that isolation working? And the economy is eager to get back on its feet as well. There are many functions waiting to happen and people are uncertain in the way they should proceed with those. So still quite uncertain times. Because Queensland, while it has done quite well, then when you look at Victoria and New South Wales and some of the cases happening there, people are a little bit afraid, skeptical as well, and not knowing what's doing. Well, right now, let's go to the market, have a quick look at the finance.
On to finance now, and a new report has estimated as many as 10% of all businesses are at risk of failure because of the COVID recession. Here's Alan Kohler.
Deloitte Access Economics said today that 240,000 businesses in hospitality, professional services and transport are at risk of failing because of the looming fiscal cliff in September, when current support arrangements are due to end. That's nearly 10% of all Australian businesses, and that's what's at stake in the update due to be unveiled on Thursday. Separately, UBS published some survey data asking businesses how long they can last. 30% of small ones have got enough cash to last less than 3 months, and nearly 50% can only last 6 months. The bigger the company, the more cash they've got, but 48% of all companies have less than 6 months' cash. And the average decline in small business revenue as at July the 5th was 31%, which is better than the peak decline of 39% in April, but worse than in June. Of course, the bad news isn't just in Australia. This is a global economic uncertainty index that's derived from newspaper articles in every country. It's the highest it's ever been. And here's something called the Coronavirus Panic Index, which measures the percentage of news chatter that mentions panic or hysteria and coronavirus. And it looks like our media is more panicky than the rest of the world. The share market was a little troubled today, but not panicky, falling 0.5%, with banks leading the way, possibly due to the prospect.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's go overseas. So first of all, we'll go to China. Let's see what's happening there. And as we know, people are very, very eager to find out what they are thinking and what they're saying. So let's hear from China about their perspective and what they think.
People in Xinjiang enjoy happy life. You know, they enjoy, the people call for good order to restored in Xinjiang. China, of course, is strongly opposed to any torture, any persecution, and discrimination of any ethnic group people. This is not the case in China.
According to your own local government statistics, the population growth in Uyghur jurisdictions in that area has fallen by 84% between 2015 and 2018. 84%.
That's not right.
I
gave you an official figure. You ask me, I give you this figure as a Chinese ambassador. This is a very authoritative figure. In the past 40 years, the Uyghur population increased, the population in Xinjiang increased to double. The population doubled. So there's no so-called restriction of the population. There's no so-called forced abortion and so on.
So as I said before, everyone's got their own point of views as well, and we should never be too quick to judge people and just jump to conclusion. We should always try and find a little bit more. Well, right now, let's go to US, and wow, Donald Trump has got some challenge coming his way. Just look at a sample of Kane's first campaign rally, and I think he's going to go a long way.
I'm not trying to quiet your voices, actually, so I don't want to say that in an improper way. I just haven't had the time to word it in the most elegant way possible. So that's a Stephen move. When Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work.
So what do you reckon? I think it's a pretty good speaker there. Then, looking at all the Black Lives Matter as well and all the movements. So I think he will get quite a good support there. But let's see how it all turns out. Right now, let's finish off with the update from India.
Welcome to News Tonight on Rajya Sabha Television. My name is Aishwarya. Preparations are in final stages for monsoon session of Parliament by September 1st week. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu saying the government has recently reached out to presiding officers of both houses about holding the session. That is our top focus. Also, all the updates on the coronavirus pandemic and much more coming up ahead. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu has said that the government has recently reached out to the presiding officers of both houses about holding the monsoon session of Parliament. Chairman of Rajya Sabha M. Venkaiah Naidu also said that the parliamentary scrutiny of handling the pandemic is on course.
Chairman Naidu recounted that the last budget session of Parliament had to be adjourned sine die on 23rd March, a few days ahead of schedule, as MPs wanted to be with the people in the hour of crisis. He said that Parliament is required to meet again within 6 months of the last sitting. He stated that he and the Speaker of Lok Sabha Om Birla have so far held several rounds of discussions on enabling the meetings of the parliamentary committees and the monsoon session of Parliament in the context of COVID-19 induced social distancing norm, as the logistics of seating and participation of MPs in the proceedings require detailed deliberation and planning. Chairman Naidu has stated that with the easing of restrictions on domestic air travel and to a lesser degree on rail travel, the department-related standing committee of both Houses of Parliament have resumed their meetings this month. They have undertaken examination of various aspects of management of the pandemic and its fallout. This in effect means the required...
So we'll have to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. We will continue with the series later on. Right now, we will go to all the upcoming events before finishing off the segment for today. So online Hindu Dharma classes for children by Bala Sanskar Kendra. BSK 8th Annual Cup. Contact Satish Rajendran. Gurdwara programs have begun. Always check the health initiative and make your way to the temples. The free food and grocery pickup and delivery, a wonderful service there. The Hindu helpline number is there. Vedanta Center of Sydney's Queensland chapter, all their programs, there's lots happening online as well. Mental health awareness, there's quite a few programs happening through that. We will keep you updated on all the steps that you can take part in. World Telugu Cultural Fest, Samarpan meditation. So there you are, ladies and gentlemen, up to date on Australian Indian Radio's daily Facebook Live update. It's wonderful to have your company. Always good to see you. And don't forget, Gopia Queensland's India Day Fair Gala Dinner on the 15th of August will be taking place. We will be circulating the booking link, etc., because under the current conditions, only limited number of people will be allowed into the hall. So, you'll need to book in early to get in there. For all general inquiries, you can contact President Rakesh Sharma. And for sponsorship, you can contact Mrs. Usha Chandra. And if you are keen on performing or taking a stall or being part of it anyway, you can contact me as well. My phone number is 0421 388 465. Until the next time, it's goodbye from me. It's been wonderful having your company. Be good and stay safe.